Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer battle. Now this time around, we are going to be seeing some Empire on Wood Elf action atop the steppes of Prague here, where I will be commanding the Wood Elves against the forces of the Empire, led by my good friend Sakarma, in a fun, sort of friendly matchup. And for this battle, I really wanted to sort of bring a bit of a vanguard and aggressive build. Didn't want to go for any crazy kite, though obviously you got to bring a little bit of kite with the Wood Elves. You always need those Way Watchers, especially against Empire. But for the build here, it's a very up-in-your-face rush composition. We've got 5 Dryads. These guys are kind of there as a screen, kind of there as an anchor, hoping to lock down whatever Sakarma brought for his front line and open up the possibility for my Wild Riders, who are really the biggest punch in this army, to get back into the back lines and annihilate any enemy infantry from behind, and any guns, artillery, that sort of thing. Backing this formation up, we do have 2 Waystalkers. I really wanted the double Waystalker build. I really wanted to see if I could snipe out some of Sakarma's casters or pressure his lords, that sort of thing. Or otherwise counter battery artillery, because that's what these guys are really good for with their snipe and their 190-meter range. Plus rather solid missile strength. They, of course, both do have Arrow of Kurnus, so they will be an absolute menace against key targets. Behind them, as mentioned before, 2 Way Watchers. These guys are great sort of AP. Good counter to Empire Heavy Cav. You really do need them to counter things like Zindler's Reichsguard or Knights of Blazing Sun, or heavily armored lords that are very, very beneficial for that. You really got to be aware of those. Way Watchers, great counter. And also kind of important, sometimes you'll see Pistoliers and Outriders and that sort of thing. And if you don't bring any counter as the Wood Elves, you don't bring any missile play, you could actually get torn apart by those. And the Way Watchers, while it's not an ideal target for them, can certainly do some work there. Finally, in the back, we do have a Tree Man, because that's my only caster option. If we did have a Spellsinger Lord, I absolutely would be running that, but we don't. So instead, we do have Earthblood as well as Flesh to Stone. Earthblood, of course, can help heal up our key targets, the Wild Riders here, and as well as the Tree Man himself if he gets in a bit of a pickle. And Flesh to Stone gets you a little extra armor, especially if you need to fight Empire Heavy Cav, something like Zindler's Reichsguard, or Reichsguard in general, or Knights of Blazing Sun. Getting that extra 60 armor is nice. Besides that, Call of the Woods helps us fight a little better, both the Tree Man as well as any Dryads and Waystalkers around him. Pose Seeker, just get in the fight a little faster, or get out of it a little faster. Power Stone for the Winds of Magic, and then we do have Life Bloom for those extra heals on our entire army. Now for Sakarma's build, he has decided to come in with a massive wide blob of archery, which really got me with my pants down here. Didn't expect it. We do have Marcus Wolfhart coming in. He's got his full kit, I believe. He does have Hunter Snare for that wonderful net. Fleet-footed, so he's able to juke around and run away. Focus Shot, as well as Ember Bow to snipe out single targets. He's backed by Light Wizard, who's got net and Gems Burning Gaze. So Sakarma looking to counter-snipe the snipers here. The poor Waystalkers especially probably wouldn't like that. We also do have Power Stone, and surprisingly, Exorcism, perhaps hoping to get a little bit of leadership boost to help keep especially the swordsmen and the spears in the fight. It's definitely a struggle for Empire in this matchup sometimes, to keep your leadership high, so I don't actually think that's a bad move. Front line is composed of a mix of swords as well as spears, just there to soak up fire and obviously block my infantry. They'll waste a lot of time for a unit like Dryads. They're backed by a horde of huntsmen and archers. Bit of a mixed bag here, all in their loose formation. Archers do have very bad range, which is going to make it tough against Wood Elf archery, but they are a decent sort of burst of damage in a point-blank situation, and that is what they're going to be facing here with all these Dryads. They've got a lot to try to shoot down. Same with these Wild Riders. A few Flagellants in the back might not seem like a great idea against Wood Elves because they've got no armor and no shields, but in fact they are very powerful against Wood Elf infantry. They trade very favorably with the majority of the Wood Elf roster in 1v1 fighting. And finally, we do of course have some Reichsguard, some Zindler's Reichsguard on the flanks here, as well as some normal Reichsguard there. Personally, I prefer Knights of Blazing Sun in this matchup for the fire damage and the speed, but certainly not a bad choice, I would say. Reichsguard is very beefy, and they're going to be tough for me to shut down. I don't really have too many counters to them. So as you can see here, the Dryads are going to be charging right down through the storm of fire coming at them, and the Waystalkers are immediately unloading on Marcus Wolfhart. Some archery there from the Way Watchers going into Zindler's Reichsguard, whittling them down by about a fifth of their HP. And in come the Heirs of Kurnus, hammering into Marcus Wolfhart, killing a few huntsmen who were unfortunate enough to be standing too close to him. And the Way Watcher fire is now pouring in as well. And I was hell-bent here on sniping out this Lord, because honestly, if I don't kill Marcus, this is going to go very badly for me. I'm not going to be able to break up this Empire infantry very well. It's going to be tough. Dryads are already buckling here. Flagellants are charging out to meet them. And as you can see, Sakarma here cleverly pulling back his spears, so that way they're not being wasted in this frontline engagement. Over here on the flank, you can see the Empire State Troops engaging the Dryads as my Wild Riders try to get that surround. But unfortunately, the front line's already buckling, but we did manage to rout off Marcus Wolfhard. And as you can see here, his leadership drops to -50s, and he shatters. So that is a big win for us. The Light Wizard here pushing forward, getting a little greedy. And he's going to start paying the price because those Waste Stalkers are having none of it. This is what they're built for. Over here you can see with the Flesh of Stone, the Wild Hunters of Kurnus do actually survive rather well. They're getting peppered by all this archery. All these huntsmen really don't like them. The bonus rush large normally is an absolute brutal spell ability against Wild Riders who only have 40 armor, so it does a lot of damage. But with 100 armor, thanks to Flesh of Stone, these guys are actually able to squeak away. They actually trade super well into these Rice Guard. You can see the Rice Guard maul down to a third of their models, and the Hunters are still around and kicking. Over here, the Tree Man does engage the Swordsman. I was just looking to stall out Sakarma, prevent him from getting too much into my backline. Weight Watchers firing into the Flagellants, or actually the Light Wizard who gets caught out here. He did rush up to get a net, which obviously bold move, and it's not going to pay off. The Waste Stalkers are going to punish him for him. The Weight Watchers are punishing him for it. He's going to get gunned down rather quickly, and you can see a route. He shatters there from the pressure. So now, well, we find ourselves in a bit of an interesting position. Over here, the Waste Stalkers being committed into the fight, trying to bog down the Flagellants, trying to block up the Rice Guard. Our infantry is basically all gone. All the Dryads are in full flight back here. Some of them have already fled out of combat. Wild Riders are getting slaughtered on the flank here. Now, they are crushing the Rice Guard, which is a big win. But all this Huntsman fire is not doing them any favors, and so they are definitely taking a bludgeoning. And although we are shutting down the cavalry, Sakarma still has so much shooting and so much infantry left over. And you can see they are pursuing me rather aggressively. But one thing that is very fortunate for us in this engagement is that Sakarma's army is very spread out now. We are stringing them out. You can see the Flagellants way overextended here. We're able to collapse on them with the Wild Hunters of Kurnus. The Rice Guard gets a beautiful charge into the Way Watchers and is definitely setting these lightly armored elves to flight, but now the Wild Hunters are able to get in on them, start routing them, force them away. So that is a big win for us there. The Flagellants getting overwhelmed. The Way Watchers are running for dear life. I probably should have turned them on to fire at will at this point, but I didn't. I wanted to conserve that ammo for these missile units at the end game. Dryads here kind of being thrown into the grinder. This is not great. Swordsmen actually trade rather well into Dryads. They've got decent combat stats. Dryads do not really, except weapon strength and armor, or survivability really. So they actually don't survive that well against Swordsmen. And they're actually kind of losing this fight because they're so badly bludgeoned. Flagellants here are getting overrun. The Wild Hunters doing an absolute number on lightly armored garbage protection infantry here. And with the Waste Stalkers in there, Waste Stalkers are not pushovers against infantry. As you can see, they've got 55 melee attack, 45 defense, 325 weapon strength, which is all going through that 0 armor. So very, very solid stuff there. In the meantime, the Wild Riders here launching a charge to the Light Brigade right down the pipe into Sakarma's lines here. Just route the archers, trying to get in on the Huntsmen as quickly as possible. Because I really saw the Huntsman as a huge threat into the late game. As you can see here, we are going to be a little clustered up, taking fire from all sources. Weight Watchers pouring in supporting fire from the back. Now, at this point, I just want to get rid of the Huntsman especially. I actually hadn't realized in the early game that Sakarma had a mix of archers and Huntsmen, so I thought it was just a mad mob of Huntsmen. And I was just trying to focus out the Huntsmen here. Get them off the field. Unfortunately, it's not quite working out. The Wild Riders actually being pursued here by Zintler's Rice Guard, forced back a bit, some of them rout. And these Wild Riders, they're doing their very best. Up to 3 chevrons, they're just not able to hold up. They're certainly suffering here and slowly but surely being bled dry. This Huntsman fire is just brutal. When they've got no armor support, it's tough. We do manage to rout some of these Huntsmen or break up some of them with the Way Watcher fire. And in the long run, of course, we can kite them. We do have 190 range versus the 160. But if I can't remove at least some of them, it's going to be tough in the late game for just the Tree Men to win. We do manage to rout some of these swordsmen. You can see the Wild Hunters here diving into the back of these archers, getting a nice little heal with Earthblood. At this point, Winds of Magic obviously not in the greatest situation, and archers obviously not an ideal target. I'd much rather be killing the huntsmen than the archers, but the archers are blocking up my attacks. So the Way Watchers pick up the slack here and focus the huntsmen out. Sakarma does manage to rout off the Wild Riders here, removing them from play. They did try to pincer some swordsmen back here, getting in a bit of slog with the state troops, but unfortunately that withering fire is really not the best for their health, and the Wild Riders at this point are just goners. They're down to their last legs. It's only a matter of time before they completely buckle. That said, Tree Man still on 4,500 HP, and as you probably noticed, he's very, very beefy. He's got 110 armor, he's got 20% physical resist, he's got missile resist, and potentially if I can get a little Winds of Magic, he can still get Flesh to Stone or Earthblood. And, as you can see there, we are managing to sort of stick it out. It's very tough for spears to kill him. They don't have AP themselves, and they've only got, I believe it's like 35 melee attack against large, because It's their bonus. So yeah, it's only 35 melee attack. They've got no AP. So this guy with his 20% resist and 48 melee defense is quite the beefcake. Way Watchers are being pursued here by spears, and as you can see, unfortunately, the Way Stalkers, who are part of the cleanup plan in late game. Way Stalkers, being decent melee combatants, are part of the plan to get rid of all these state troops in the long run. Unfortunately, they're not in a position to help. So we're actually going to bounce the Wild Riders over here. Wild Hunters plowing into the Swordsmen, sending them flying, looking to get them off my back, and dropping their leadership very, very quickly. We are going to drop an Earthblood here, get a little bit of healing, rout these Swordsmen. That is going to free up, hopefully, our Wild Hunters to then charge back into the Flagellants, just bouncing back and forth between these Empire State Troops. The Way Watchers just firing willy-nilly at this point into the mob, trying to break it up. Scrum, fortunately, running low on ammo now. There is still a few rounds of some of these guys, and of course my Way Watchers are in much worse ammo condition. But it would be very difficult for these guys to shut down the Tree Man at this point, because he still has 3,700 HP. Huntsman being revealed there. Flagellants and Swordsmen overwhelmed. Wild Hunters doing an absolutely fine job here. 25 models left on them. It's very critical in this late game situation. Tree Man taking one for the Wood Elf people, just piling in here into this brawl, routing off the swords and spears with the help of that Way Watcher fire, just crushing some of those poor state troops. This guy's an absolute beast, of course. That staff looks so awesome too. But able to rout off the Empire State forces, and Scrum is going to try to withdraw there and rally his troops, but the Shatter does kick in, and at this point it's just some cleanup over here on the Flagellants. And a Pyrrhic victory for the Wood Elf Realms. So, if we go over this build here, obviously I wouldn't say this is necessarily the most competitive way to play. Perhaps just kiting back and avoiding that engagement as long as possible might be the smarter decision. But I did think it was a fairly competitive choice. The Way Stalkers are great at pressuring out Empire Mages in particular, as well as countering their artillery and whittling down their lords. Even a well-armored lord, you'll sometimes see... I think Boris is a fairly popular choice in this matchup. I see him quite a lot. He's got regen, and he does have decent armor, and you can put him on a griffin or you can put him on a horse. He's all in all a decent lord here. The Way Stalkers can slowly whittle him down over time. They can whittle down someone like Karl Franz. Not great against someone like Volkmar, but if your opponent brings Volkmar, that's what the Way Watchers are for. They're here for those key, heavily armored targets that you can't crack otherwise, while these Way Stalkers are really there to whittle down the wizards. They can chip away at Huntsmen with piercing arrows. Of course, their arrows do pierce, so it's very strong there. They can shut down artillery. They'll chip away a little bit at Reiksguard with arrows of Kurnus and that sort of thing. So good choice there. Dryads unfortunately just had a horrible time of it. They're not built to... Dryads are honestly an overpriced unit that pays for a lot of stats that you don't get too much value out of. So when you throw them into a fight like this, they don't trade super well with state troops to begin with. Then throw in some Flagellants and arrow fire, and a fight that they normally barely win, they just get dumpstered in, and it's just a very, very rough situation for them. Way Watchers, of course, did a great job. Helped shut down the Reiksguard, helped kill Marcus as well as the Light Wizard, which was key there. The Wild Hunters performed excellently, as did the Wild Riders, to be honest, gaining some chevrons in there, slaughtering the Reiksguard, who would have been, if those Reiksguard, even one unit of Reiksguard was still around and kicking in that late game, this game could have gone very, very poorly for me. But the fact that both Reiksguard were removed, I think, was a big win there. Tree Man did a good job blocking up and terror routing, which was nice. So, all in all, big wins there. Now, first Garmer's build, obviously the Marcus Wolfheart and the Light Wizard is a bit of an experiment. It's not what I would recommend against Wood Elves, because you're not going to win that sniping contest. You're going to get gunned down, potentially. And otherwise, I don't think you're really going to stop a rush with Wolfheart and the Light Wizard. I do get the net combo that he was looking for here. It was definitely a bit of an experimental build, but I don't think it quite worked out. Perhaps if he'd focused out one of the Way Stalkers early on with his arrow combo, it would have been stronger. Not entirely sure. But I do think trying to double down on the nets isn't necessarily the best idea. I think you're better off with a little more cavalry in there, a little more mobility. The State Troop frontline did an excellent job. It doesn't really show in their kills, but they just soaked up so much fire, and they blocked up the Wild Riders, and they tore up the Dryads with the help of those archers. Flagellants did an amazing job, like, no doubt about it. The kill counts don't really represent how much damage these units did. Keep in mind, they almost brought down the Tree Man, they slaughtered the Dryads, and they annihilated the Wild Riders. I think the only real underperformers in this battle were the Reiksguard, who kind of got cockblocked by the Wild Hunters with the armor buff, and then swarmed by two Wild Riders and Dryads on one flank. And as a result, Scrummer lost his cavalry, and that really hurt him, I think, in the long run. But really, Marcus, the Light Wizard, were probably the weakest link here. I think the rest of the build was pretty cool. The Huntsmen are actually a solid build pick, just because they've got good range. They fire on the move. Granted, it's only forward, but usually you're chasing the Wood Elves, so that's not a problem. And 160 range is good enough to sort of engage. relatively effectively against a unit like White Watchers. So definitely, I think, a cool choice here. Same with the Archers. I just think that Marcus and the Light Wizard needed to stay alive, and things might have panned out very differently. So well played, Karma here. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy the video. As usual, leave your thoughts, opinions, comments, and critiques down below. I will do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.